Oops, John Black, super chemist. We got a CO2 chart. It's for the last 800,000 years. Okay? I want you to notice these dips. 2 dips, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 dips. That's over. So every 100,000 years or so, it dips down that low. If you look at the chart, that's down to 180 parts per million. Okay? At 150 parts per million, everything dies. All the plants, all the animals. The plants won't have enough CO2, and they will die, and then the animals will die, and then we'll die. So we have been lucky this last million years almost, 800,000 years, okay? If it dips, we are so lucky it didn't dip down. We were at 180 parts per million. 150, we all die. We need CO2 put into the air. Okay, we don't need to take it out. We need to put it in. Okay, this is saving us. This thing right here. I want you to realize also. Okay, this line isn't really a straight up and down line. This line from here down to here, that's like 10,000 years, because it's so condensed. Because this chart is for a million years. If you stretch it out, this line would go down and down and down. It look more like this. Curve, like in the last chart I showed in the last video. But there was something I wanted to say about. Oh yeah, according to this chart, the last 150 years, we put 100 parts per million into the air. Into the CO2. 100 parts per million. That's less than 1 part per million per year, right? If we had 150 years, and we only put 100 parts per million into it, that's less than a degree. But let's just say it's a degree a year. Okay, let's say in the last 100 years, we put in 100 parts per million. At 1% carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, at 1%, that's 10,000 parts per million. We are at 400 parts per million right now. 10,000. Now, if we go 1 parts per million per year, and 1% is nothing. I mean, at 1%, I start saying, hey man, maybe we should start slowing down on the CO2, okay? Because it does get toxic at least 5%. 10%, you'll die instantaneously, and you have to worry about green gas effects at 10%. Anything below 10%, it's not going to act like a green gas, and have green gas effects like people think. That's like saying throw 1 molecule of CO2 in it. It's a green gas. No. You need to have either a lot of pressure, like 90 atmospheres, or you got to have at least 10% CO2. But my whole point is that 1%, okay, taking CO2 up to 1% is nothing, okay? We actually need, our plants are starving right now. I think these crazy climate people, we should be able to lock them in the room and only give them 1/3 of the oxygen that they want. Okay, because that's what we're doing to plants right now. We only give them 1/3 of what the CO2 they want. I mean, just think about it. Greenhouses, grow houses like pot plants and greenhouses. Why do they pump in CO2 into those places? If there's so much CO2, why would they spend the money to pump more CO2 into those places to get their crops to grow? Because crops are literally starving. I mean, suffocating, okay? And my whole point was, if we're doing 1 part per million per year and taking it up to 10,000 parts per million is nothing, 1 part per million per year would, for 10,000, to take it up 10,000 parts per million, that'd be 10,000 years. It'll take, at the rate we're going right now, it'll take 10,000 years for us to even get to 1% CO2 in the air. Okay? And you can say, well, we're going to, as we grow, we're going to make more CO2 than the previous year. You know what I mean? So even taking it in half, 5,000 years. It'll take 5,000 years to get to the point where you're like, well, maybe we should stop putting more, putting CO2 in. Because more CO2, it isn't going to, until you get to 10%, it's not going to affect the heat, the temperature of the planet. That's crazy. But it will help the plants grow. Since the 70s, when we had satellites, right? We take satellite pictures of the Earth every year, you know what I mean? And we line them up. You can see the pictures from the 70s and the pictures, even in the 2000s, or, 2010s. The planet is literally 40% more green, decades later after, putting this CO2 out. It's a good thing to have CO2, you know what I mean? It doesn't heat up as long as you keep it below 10%, doesn't heat anything up, and you can put so much into the air to where and in 5,000 years, I think we'll have some other, thing, or we'll have a lot of nuclear power. Nuclear power produces 0 CO2. But until we get because plants want, and you can Google it, you can Google the 150 part per million to say what happens if the concentration gets down to 150 parts per million. Ask Google. They'll tell you. Everyone dies. The plants, and you can go, but what are plants like? What do they prefer? It's about 1,200 parts per million. We're at 400. That means we need 3 times what we have. Until we get to that point, I wouldn't worry about putting CO2 into the air, okay? I would at least want to get up that high, because that way for a million years, we have been lucky as heck. Not that these just went down just a little millimeter more, and we would be dead on all these troughs right here, the lower points. Humanity would be dead. What you got to get it up past anything from here where that line is, right? And below that is garbage. You're actually putting a gun to your head and shooting yourself in the head, man. I mean, the CO2, we need CO2. Okay? And I think that's all I got to say about this graph. But again, I'm going to show you these other 2 graphs that I showed you from the last video real quick. This is last 650 years, right? 650 million years. It's CO2 and temperature. This is the CO2, the purple. It basically, other than this dip right here, it's basically a straight line going down. And then look at the temperatures: up, down, 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 up, down. Does not equate to flat, this. And that's from the CO2 coalition, which is on my side. And here's a chart from the people that are on the other side. This is from ResearchGate, and I think what is it? NASA. Don't trust NASA. They did this chart. It's basically, you can see the CO2 is exactly the same. The temperature is pretty much the same, but it's lower. They use different. They use Celsius instead of Fahrenheit. You can see nothing. You got a line right here for your CO2, and then the temperature goes up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. They do not correlate. To think they do correlate is literally insane. Okay? And keep in mind, these charts I'm showing you, sooner or later they're going to take them down. They're changing them right now. Google, and what's funny, here's the chart that they change it to. Notice difference from let me read that. Difference from 1901 to 2000 average Celsius temperature. Notice how they're not giving you temperatures anymore. When they changed these charts over, they changed them all to this, where they give you a difference in temperature. What's the difference from? It's the difference from the average 20th century temperature. But they don't tell us those temperatures either. So and you Google something, 1 out of 20 years, you know, if you do each year individually and say, hey, Google, what's the average Earth temperature? 9 out of 10 times, it won't tell you what the temperature is. It will say it's so much like, it's 1 degree above the average 20th century temperature. Why would it not give you any temperatures anymore? Is it maybe because you can't figure shit out like this? Look how it looks like. It all looks like it's going up. And we already did this. It was either my last video or the one before it, where we did a chart. And the chart is a horizontal line. Then in 2012, it goes up 3 degrees, and another horizontal line. And then the last year, it goes all the way back down. No curve going up. Like, this is going up. No. This is a lie. And what's funny is this used to have the other temperature chart that I used in my other videos. That used to be on this EPA and on all the other government sites. And one by one, they changed them over to this. Just like Google. One by one, each year, they changed the data. And they're doing it with the fire, you know, the fires, the charts for the floods, droughts, crops, cyclones, tornadoes, all of them. All them things that they say, oh, this is happening because of global warming. I looked up the charts to see. And they're just systematically changing the charts. Or they deem them misinformation. You know, data that's been around for over 100 years, peer-reviewed, never, you know, no one ever batted an eye about them. Now all of a sudden, 100 years later, hey, this is misinformation from 100 years ago. What? And what's funny is when they did that, they only said that part of you can see, like, half of the chart proves global warming is fake, and that's the part that they deem misinformation. It's like, oh, what a coincidence, huh? What a coincidence. Okay. So, let's see if we have any other charts. Maybe I could show you something else. There's the fire charts. I don't know if I'm going to do the other chart. I was going to look up all the charts. And see, like, here's the average temperature of the Earth. Look at this. 52.2 right now. And what was it 150 years ago? 52.2 now. 52.2. 52.5. It was a third of a degree hotter 150 years ago. But global warming is a thing. Really? I can't. Really? Okay. It's cracking me up. Anyways, I'm over on BitChute. I'm on Rumble. And I'm on, that's it. I'm over there. It's called Pastafarian Preacher. All one word. I'm trying to label the videos the same as I, did here. So if you want to come over and, watch my videos or whatever, because I'm only going to put like a couple more videos up here, and then I'm going to get back off of this John Black Super Chemist channel. And I won't be back unless someone, until they delete my other channels that I got. You know what I mean? They just keep deleting me over and over. Like, the censorship is unreal. The censorship when I was making chemistry videos, I thought that was but that was nothing. That was literally nothing. I mean, they deleted a lot of my videos, but that was true. At least they let them up for a little bit. They just, as soon as like this last channel, it lasted me a year and a half, but a half a year I didn't use it. Then the year I did use it, I didn't use any title names. I didn't use any search words. And then all of a sudden, like a couple weeks ago, before they deleted me, I started putting videos up. I started putting freaking titles on. And then eventually I started to put the search words in. And boom, of course, they came and they they deleted my channel. Like they always do. Oh, that's the end of the thing.